Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. I'm sorry. I was struggling until 1 second ago. Welcome back to our different night this week for our gallery night, cocktail night. It is on a Sunday. This is a redo, and I'm hoping that we don't have the same similar bad luck. This is a redo of last Sunday night when I had a lot of technical difficulty and we did not get the show up. It is an even bigger show tonight because in the week that sort of elapsed in between the huge failure of gallery night last Sunday and tonight, there have been new versions and completed projects and lots of fun. So, cheers, my dears. I am so glad that you're there this Thanksgiving weekend. If you are in the US, we are wrapping it up and moving on to the next holiday. Cheers. All right, let me see what buddies are here. So if you haven't been with us before, this is your first night. This is a gallery night tonight. So this is our most special night of the month because we are looking at the work of each other, things that people have sent in, projects that are in progress, projects that are just being begun or considered, contemplated, advice needed, and completed projects that are just stellar and crazy and over the top. So this is my favorite night of the month because we're looking at each other's work and not just something in a magazine or something by someone you don't know. Many of the people who have submitted work tonight are in the thread tonight. So that part of it is so much fun. It is all gorgeous work. Wait till you see. Priscilla, great to see you from Rainy, Ohio. Us too. It is like crazy rain out there today. It was just crazy. Really, really obnoxious rain. But what can one do? It's not snow, right? I shouldn't have said that because I bet we've got some snow here. Doreen, great to see you in upstate New York. And Susan, Kansas, Mom, and Granby, great to see you. Carol, cheers, my dears, in Wisconsin. So it's a glass of wine for me tonight. I'm just wondering what you're all having. That looks like a good stein of beer, doesn't it? Sharon, great to see you in Vancouver, and Teresa, also in Ohio. That it's great to make those connections, isn't it? You might be neighbors. Wouldn't that be so fun? Teresa and Linda H. Cheers, my dears, in Massachusetts. Kaz, I'm starting the show, the gallery part of the show with your work tonight. Great to see you. Also, Wisconsin. Ryan, great to see you. You are also in the show, of course. Happy Sunday in North Texas. Andy Warhol Jigsaw Puzzle. Oh, how fun is that in hard cider? Ooh, that sounds so good. I have my G's Bend puzzle over there. I keep waiting for the moment. I don't know when the moment will come, but it's there when it does come. Candace, great to see you in Texas. Your first time catching live. We are so happy to have you. You are so welcome. And it's a great night to join in too. It's super fun night tonight. April, great to see you. I'm so looking forward to seeing everyone's work too. Was such good work. It always is. It always is. I always feel like the current episode is just the best, but they're all the best. It's all great work and everybody does such different work. That's where the inspiration comes in, doesn't it? Being able to look at each other's stuff and Linda B, good evening. Cats Gallery, hello. Bob the Puncher, there you are. Hello. Enjoy. Happy Sunday night. I can't get my head around that it's Sunday night and that Thanksgiving is over. I'm really struggling with this stuff. It is like a landslide. It's like underground stream is just like tugging away that feeling of standing on the beach and the water's pulling you forward and it's like everything is moving. Melanie, great to see you. I have your work in the show too. Lori Paul, great to see you. Cheers, my dears. And Courtney, great to see you. Nada, great to see you. You are out in California, right? You're in San Francisco. And Debbie, great to see you. Debbie, we're going to answer that question of yours tonight. I bet we're going to have some better answers than the ones in my head. So that's what I'm hoping for. Anita, great to see you. Thank you for your message. I'm sorry I haven't written back yet. It has been a wild time for me with crazy mood swings and ups and downs and holiday and all kinds of stuff. But it is getting more solid underfoot, which is a good feeling. Thank you for all of your messages, by the way. I'm hoping that this is going to be a perfectly normal week for us. That is the plan to run the show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So let's hope for that. Let's hope for all the technical gods smiling down on us, too. That's always a huge part of it. Juliet, I have your beautiful piece in the show tonight, too. Good to see you in Maryland, Annapolis. That is my favorite place in Maryland. Joy, I'm just catching up on your comments. Whitney, good to see you. Oh, thank you. I put lipstick on. I think that's the only thing, but thank you. I was feeling like a bit of a crone, so I appreciate that. Fred, great to see you in Mississippi. All right, good. I'm so glad. Catalina, oh my gosh, I was missing you. Good to see you. Good to see you. You know, nobody can catch it all the time, right? That would be crazy. That would be impossible. But luckily they're all recorded and you can always go back to them later and but it's nice to see you live. It's very nice to see you live. It has been so busy here, trying to get ready for the holidays and come up with some new stuff. I'm going to show you a little bit of what I've been working on too, because I always forget that part when we get to the end of the show. Yeah, it is. Things are getting real. So let me see. Let me pull up gallery night and let's see what we've got going. I will project forward and say I realized at one point today that even though it's Sunday night and I was working on tonight's show and re-entering all of the data that was fatally lost, like forever lost, it occurred to me that there's a show tomorrow that I hadn't even thought about yet. So for tomorrow, just so you know, one of the lines of patterns that I introduced to the Ribbon Candy Hooking store, which is my brand, over the weekend, is the collection of Louis Wain cats. So tomorrow, I don't know if you've seen the heartbreaking movie with what's his name, Cumberbatch. I can never remember the Sherlock Holmes. Something begins with a B. Something Cumberbatch, the young British actor who is so good. He starred as Louis Wain, Wain, in I think it was called The Electric Life of Louis Wain. Beautiful, stab you through the heart, emotional, devastating movie. I honestly didn't get through it because I emotionally wasn't there to be able to absorb anymore. I might give it another go after the new year, but it is a beautiful movie. I saw 80% of it and then I had to click it off because it was just too much. But it was, for a normal person, it was just a stellar, beautiful, classic British artistic movie about the life of this artist who is hardly known, mostly because he made the mistake in his lifetime of not copywriting his stuff and being tricked by a lot of people. And it was all bad. But we're going to talk about his life tomorrow and some of his famous images of cats, because now they're available as patterns because I'm putting like most of them out. The ones that make sense and that are not offensive, I'm putting out. And I thought a lot of them are Christmassy, a lot of them are caroling cats and cats dragging the Yule log and things like that, cats at parties. So if you are a cat person, tomorrow is going to be a good day on coffee time for you. That's for sure. Benedict, that's it. Thank you. I knew it was a weird B one, right? He's so good. I don't like the new Sherlock Holmes stuff, but I have to say he's a very good actor, all the same. And nobody asked me anyway, so, you know, thumbs up. Yes, thumbs up. Let's get some traction. That's coming tomorrow. So just so you know where my head is at this week, that is coming up for us. Let me come over here to gallery night and see if there's anything I was meant to show. A couple other things. Let me show you a couple things before we get going. I keep mentioning, and I don't have the date off the top of my head, which I should. I've got two things happening locally here in Connecticut in January. One of them is a big talk at the Hartford Library, on the romance of rug hooking, the history, and the prospect of doing it today. And I am going to be giving a shout out this week for people who are local, who might want to come demonstrate punching, hooking, or any form of rug making while I'm giving the talk. And also present will be our exhibit of the Van Gogh rugs. If you've sent me one, great. If you're about to send me one, great. As long as I have it by the end of January, it is way at the end of January, that I'm going to put all those up for an exhibit for the whole world to see. And it's going to be wonderfully gratifying and fulfilling seeing your artwork up and people looking at it. Whether you are local or not, you've sent it, that will be well documented because that's a big deal. So that's coming up, but also coming up in January, also don't have the date, I'm giving another talk on rug making at the new Canaan Historical Society. And at their historic house, there's many houses on their property, they have a super romantic and beautiful hooked rug. You just got a little preview of it. It is an extraordinary rug. This is the only hooked rug that they have in the Hanford Silliman house. And this is where I will be giving a talk on hooked rugs. And I will also be following the talk up with a class for people who are interested in learning about rug hooking for the first time. I'm going to be translating, simplifying this pattern of this extraordinary 1880 rug that is actually on the floor of the house, and she promised they're going to take it up off the floor and put it up so no more people step on it, because you can see there is quite a bit of loss. But I have just not seen a pattern so unusual, so exquisite, like a hearth rug, long and skinny, right? But the orientation is wrong, is different. So it's like it is directly some kind of a feed bag, opened up, made as large as possible, Really unique design, kind of an Asian bowl. If you look at the work on that bowl, such a beautiful piece. So when we were talking, the woman I'm planning it with, Nancy, who's like in charge of all the programs and the outreach there, when we were talking about it, she said, well, what kind of pattern would you want to do, teaching? And I said, well, we have got to do the pattern that is associated with this house. It is the one hooked rug in the house. It dates to 1880. It is unique and extraordinary. It has got to be a translation, a simplified translation of that flower pot rug. I mean, it was just extraordinary. So that's coming up too. And I'm going to show you what I'm working on. This is also foreshadowing to this week. I'm working on a series. If you're already a Patreon supporter, always appreciate you, love you, and thank you. Always. I sent out last week or the week before for Patreon supporters. I colored this one up, but this is a pattern that I started working on too. Like this is an imaginary detective girls book cover called The Twisted Trail of the Tricky Turkey, right? So I colored it the way I liked it, and this is the way I'm going to be hooking it in this color plan. So this one went out as a second free pattern in November for Patreon members for Thanksgiving. This is one I'm working on right now and we'll be recording a video on tomorrow. This is called The Adventure of the Ghosts in the Gallery. These are all fictional girls books. I'm imagining from like the 1940s, 1950s, but kind of fun, frivolous designs. And there's a third one that's out as well. I haven't started this one and I don't know if I'll have time, but this is called The Mystery of the Menace in the Attic. And as you can see, the menace is the cat who is up there upturning boxes of yarns, and I thought that was a bit textile-y and cute. So these are the things that I'm working on right now, and tomorrow Wednesday on Coffee Time, we will be starting our segment on girl detectives, like girl detective books, and some of you have been sending me emails about what your favorite girl detective series were, whether it was Nancy Drew or Judy Bolton or Cherry Ames or Vicky Barr, the stewardess, right? A lot of you have sent like really sweet personal messages about what your favorite book or your favorite girl series was. And so we will be entering a segment because the swatch set is coming out this week too of the girl detective colors that are all based on the names of real girl detective books from many different series. So that is meant to be super fun, super nostalgic, and to get you going on some very easy, very lowbrow, but fun. And ever charming winter reading, right? So that's coming up on Wednesday. Those are the two things that are coming up that I know of so far this week on Coffee Time. So that is what I am working on, and be looking for a video tomorrow because I've got a video on the making of one of those coming up. But Kaz, it is you. This is this Pearl McGowan pattern from 1969 that you bought and that you then had to deal with, because this is not an easy pattern. So this is one of these small Pearl McGowans on burlap, right? I have a lot of these vintage patterns, and I really do need to get back to. I have a lot more that are available. I just have not had the time to put them forward. But I know a lot of you are looking for specific patterns, so I'll get to that as soon as I can. Many of the Pearl McGowans, and you might know this already, came out as Christmas patterns. So every year there would be a Christmas pattern. This is for 1969. They rarely had anything to do with Christmas, but it was like a special kind of bonus pattern. It was, maybe a little bit more collectible, a little bit special, just because it was for the holiday. And this was a bit of an unusual one because it's like Mount Fuji, isn't it, Kaz? I think it must be Mount Fuji. But it's this beautiful little scene. There's like a little boat, right, on the water. Very tricky trees here. So when I sent this to Kaz, I thought, in the nicest possible way, good luck, because this is beyond my capability. I would handle this so graphically it would come out looking like a subway poster or something. But it's a beautiful pattern, and Kaz got to work on it and is really articulating it in the most exquisite way. It is looking, let me show you the pattern again, the before and after, right? Because look at that tree on the left, how tricky that is. Mount Fuji. Okay, good. It's not a shape that you would expect, right? Because it's a different tree from a different continent. It looks different. It has a different sort of trunk. It has different movement. It has different leaves. It has potential to be really tricky. But Kaz is handling it expertly. And suddenly it does look like this kind of lush foreground and I didn't even notice that second boat. Looks like you transferred it onto a better backing, which I think is a good call, because sometimes these older ones can be so brittle, right? Absolutely. Because that would be at this point, what, like 53 years old, the pattern itself. but who's counting? So really beautiful. You've got it so crisp, and you've got some great color change happening on Mount Fuji. It's got its little white cap, and then it's got some great color change coming down. You've got great shadow on the trunks. It looks really lush, and I love that. It is graphic, but it has a lot of realism too. And I like the color changes right in the foreground on the left. Those leaves, right? They have kind of stripies in them, and I really, you transferred it to linen. It looks amazing. This is a really hard project, and I'm just blown away by how well it's going, right? Because, yeah, I would be so daunted by this, not to be negative, but there wasn't a lot of information in the pattern, but you are instinctively just tackling it in the best possible way. I can't imagine it looking better than this. So they are rich colors, Melanie. You're right. They are super rich. They're really warm, like that mountain is like a good cocoa color, like you're making hot cocoa, right against that really powdery light blue, like icy, frozen light blue. Really great contrast, really great movement on the cap of Mount Fuji. And just like the dit dots of the trees, right? There's so much going on. There's a little bit of static in the trees, which is exciting. And then that just gorgeous sweep of the mountain. Really beautiful. Great interpretation. And I think you're working on something. Yes. Okay. Oh, you know what? Oh, Kaz, I didn't put the finished one in. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone. Can I pull it up on my phone? I'll see if I can do that. I'll try to do that in a minute. My phone is in the other room, but Jay is here, so maybe he can run and get it for me. Kaz, I can't believe I forgot to do that. This is what happens when a week goes by. I lose my mind. Kaz has since finished this lady with a parasol. So this is one of the patterns too. Is this one that I put out on Patreon too, Kaz? Is this one of the free patterns? Or is this one that you ordered? I know I put a Monet out, the month of Monet. But regardless, this is one of the Monets that I did with as simple a line drawing as I could manage, because, Monet can be tricky, not because of the sketch, but because of all of the things that he adds in terms of light and detail. So it's hard with these Impressionist painters to translate, and it really is up to the person. Good, this was the Patreon pattern that came out. That's great. With a little boy, like, off to the side there too. He's kind of like a little bit lower on the hill. He's still approaching the crest of the hill. It's a beautiful pattern. It's absolutely beautiful. It is so hard to get the Impressionist color palette right, because it's always unexpected. And particularly with Monet, he uses obviously so many blues and purples. That's kind of, we know what Van Gogh looks like with his blues, oranges, and yellows. Monet is really blues and purples, isn't he? He goes for the analogous colors that are immediately next to each other on the color wheel. And in this case, he's going for, in like the real versions of this painting, because there's more than one, blue, green, purple. And those colors are next to each other on the color wheel. So where's the complementary colors? He doesn't use them. He doesn't use the color wheel that way. And this was really smart, Kaz, to tackle it this way too, because you've got in the body of her dress, this beautiful Victorian bustle dress, right? You've got some beautiful light showing, but you've got some great blue, lilac, cool shades of blue shadows. And in the sky, you've got great directional hooking, which really separates the sky from the rest of the story, which is like the figures. I love the directional hooking, and I love that the blues are very different in the sky, because Monet used so many different colors of blue when he went for blues or purples. It wasn't like he used one or two. It was like he used 50. So it's great to plug in as many different colors as you can of the same color family. It will look more like a Monet. That's one of the great Monet tricks. But it is lovely. I'll see if I can pull up the full finished version on my phone. Linda, you sent, oh, you know what? Wait a minute. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Hang on. Hang on. I'm telling you, I was taking a nap a little while ago because I'm really not feeling that well. It's just tiredness and everything, right? My brain's not working. I have a bunch of text to read that I missed out on. So hang on a second. Hang in with me. Let me just take a sip of my drink and see where we are. Oh, Kaz, you sent a nice message too. There it is. You were saying that this was called, okay. So the two pieces that you sent, the 1969 Proma gown, you transferred onto linen. There you go, and modified it a little, as you should. I took a landscape class using this pattern from Davy DeGraff at the Hooking in the Mountains rug show in Vermont. That's where we were together last week. So this was a couple weeks ago now. I chose red for the mountain because it reminded me of red of Mount Fuji. Let's come back here. I don't know how I dropped the ball. Hang on. Here we go. Nope, 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 nope. There we go. Okay, so let me see. I chose red for the mountain because it reminded me of, it does have a lot of red, doesn't it? Me of Red Fuji by a Japanese wood printmaker, um, who Hokusei, right? I think we've talked about this artist before on a bingo night or something. Who also did the Great Wave? Absolutely, definitely the same person. And the second piece is Parasol Girl. So that is the one that went out to Patreon members. Parasol Girl, originally painted by Monet. My sister-in-law and I are going to the Monet experience, similar to the Van Gogh experience, right? This is the next sort of immersive art experience that's touring the world. And you did go to that a few days ago in Milwaukee on the 23rd. And Kaz, gosh, I'm so angry at myself now. You finished this piece, you hemmed around the edges, and you sewed it onto the back of your jean jacket so it looked like an insert, like a giant gorgeous patch on the back of your jacket just in time. I think it said in the post that you stayed up really late that night to finish this piece so it could be on your jacket. So perfect. And you said, I used my spot dyed blue wool for the sky. Then I tried higgledy piggledy method that I learned from, is it Davy or Davy? That's going to be hard to communicate to me, isn't it? For the clouds. Most of the materials are noodles, yarns, and sari silk. And you said, I will redo the face. Well, I mean, the face looks fantastic here. I probably used 3 cuts instead of 6. Oh, it's looking so good. You know, he made faces look anonymous too. You stayed up till midnight. That is very late. In my world, that is very late. The face is very hard. They really are. And he didn't, unless he was doing close-ups, he didn't do a lot with faces either. Maybe I don't put the eyes in. I like it like that. Well, you have finished it. Um, Let me give a shout out. Jay, if that's you, can you grab my phone? If you can you grab my phone?
Got it.
Oh, thanks. I think he's watching. He's one step ahead of me. It's a long, like Davi, a long A. That's what I figured. That's what I figured. Because I figured it wasn't Davy, right? Because that's like a man's name. Face looks perfect. I agree. I love the anonymous style of hooking. You did not put the eyes. Great. Did you change the cut of it? And then I'll stop with all the questions. And we'll see if I can pull it up on my phone and show it on the phone. So sorry about that. Linda, first thing I want to say to you is the Thanksgiving card that you sent me was so beautiful on a personal note that I cried. And not only did I cry about how beautiful what you wrote was and so meaningful, and it made me feel so happy during a pretty bad time for me. It made me feel so happy that I take the time to run these shows. Like what you said was so nice. Not only did I cry when I read it, I cried when I read it again. And I left it on my work table so that every time I feel like crying, I can read it. Because it feels good to cry, doesn't it? And sometimes I just need a prompt. And if there isn't a Hallmark movie playing, I really appreciate it. It's a good thing. Because I need that. I need that right now. Laughing and crying, it's the same release, right? Name that tune. Thank you so much. So, oh, is it Davy like aid? Davy. All right. I'm going to go for that. All right. Just catching up on the comments. All right. Come back here. Come back here. And let's see. Let's look at this tremendous cubist bird. So, Linda, you did 3 fantastic pieces that that I included all of in the show. I'm just looking at what you wrote here. So the cubist bird is 18 by 19, hooked on burlap, as almost all my pieces are. I also love burlap. The bird is hooked with doubled wool yarns. So in other words, when you're hooking, sometimes the yarn is too thin, right? That can happen. You just double it up, right? And then you're working with 2-ply. If it's super thin, you just triple it up or quadruple it up. You fold it over as many times as you need to so that it stays in that backing and looks great. That is super smart, Linda. That is super smart. The turquoise sky is hand cut from an old t-shirt dress. The bottom ground is number 4 cut wool from a skirt. I love how you do this. I love how you do this thrifty school of hooking where you pull from all kinds of older clothes and stuff and things that you find. And it's so true to the form, right? It's true to the history of the craft. I absolutely love this piece. And you know what this reminded me of? This is a small rabbit hole. If you were to name one artist, now this is just an abstract thought, that works in this style. Now, Linda, I am about to compare your work to a great artist, and there's a great reason for that. You are also a great artist. I love the cubist breakdown of this bird. What artist, right? And I'm going to look in the thread because I know somebody's going to answer. Children's illustrator is famous for breaking up or abstracting animals, right? And I'll add a further clue by saying, and doing it in the form of collage. Do you know who I mean? I'm going to take a sip and see if anybody jumps in with the answer to that because it's an artist that I'm pretty sure everybody knows. And when I saw Linda's Cubist bird, I thought that is number one, cracking, and number two, ooh, there's some crossover in my mind here. I prefer yours, Linda, but I'm just going to give it a second and take a sip. Mm. Ryan, I also love the color palette. I love the breakdown. It's so smart. And you're keeping the background really simple. Great colors. Sharon, it is like Paul Klee. That's not who I'm thinking of, but it is super. Yes, Suze, I was thinking of Eric Carle. It is also super like Paul Klee for sure. Reminds me of the golden fish, sort of. All right, so these are all great ideas. I didn't even think of Klee, but it absolutely does. So Eric Carle looks like this. I'm sure you all recognize his work, but what he is very well known and successful for having done, and he is not out of copyright at all. He is locked down, I think, by Random House or by the family. Um, yeah. Also, he breaks up animals, because he works in collage by shape, and this is exactly what Linda did in, I think, an expert way. It's a great idea to take the subject that you're working with and slice it up into a bunch of pieces because then it gives it a modern art look, and it gives you the opportunity to be able to really play with the different sections. And why shouldn't you, right? This works well. So, for example, a simple unit like a butterfly can turn into something like this. And while this is not Linda, oh, Linda, this is so very beautiful. The bird is certainly speaking to it, super beautiful. You know, it just, you can put such a simple background on something when you break it down in this manner. So again, Eric Carle is not copyright free at all. But the idea of abstracting your subject, the flowers are very broken up too. I just love it. I love that there's some realism, right? There's like kind of a sandy terrain or a beachy terrain, and there's like a few little green shoots coming up. But the bird himself is really a work of art. The way that you've broken them down and the color palettes that you've used looks like brownie maroons against kind of the classic mauve and blues. Absolutely perfect. And I love the way that the colors are similar to both the ground and the sky. I like that. It challenges your eye a little bit and it just is exquisite. You also sent in a beautiful turkey. This is such a good turkey. It made me really wish that I had the show up last week, of course, because it was right before our Thanksgiving week. The turkey is a captain's chair mat, approximately 14 by 15. It's a mixture of cut wool and acrylic yarns. Can't remember if I said, yes, you sent pictures of the bee as well. I'm admiring the turkey first because you have got so much great colorful movement on this turkey. There are some things here that are so good for me and so unusual. I love the rounded shape of his body. It's a little stout body, a little compact body. It's absolutely perfect. I think sometimes we get tripped up in making turkeys, doing like the wild turkey versus the tom turkey, and then sort of creating that lumpy shape to the body with the big back on it. A turkey will read as a turkey, just like a peacock will read as a peacock. You don't have to really make it realistic. You can make it folky like this. For me, I love this style of turkey. It's simple. The lines are easy to see, easy to read. It really, really translates well. It looks so old school, so antique and folky, particularly because there's so much color change in the body of the bird. In the background, you've got nice solid colors again. I love your style of these kinds of little fingers, little thin fingers of grass coming up against a solid sky. And that gives you a lot of room to play inside the main motif, which in this case is the turkey. I love the little tips of white at the top. That kind of regularity, right, is really important. It holds the piece together. It has such a great folky look. It does make you smile, Linda. Ryan says, I love the functionality of it being a chair mat as well. Beautiful for the holidays year round. Absolutely. I was thinking this week, are turkeys for Thanksgiving? And I thought, wait a minute, a lot of people also have turkeys at Christmas, right? If you celebrate Christmas, um, turkeys are still good. Leave your turkeys out. And you did send the bee. This bee is really extraordinary. The bee is cut wool. The wings are sparkly shirt, so you cut up a shirt for the wings. And you do, a lot of the t-shirt material, like a lot of the, if you go to Goodwill or Savers or whatever, and you're looking for something to cut up and use, anything with like spandex will have a metallic feel to it because the spandex is inside of it and it's just stretching every time you pull up. But a lot of these t-shirts and dresses and whatever that are knits, jersey knits, already have like Lorex or one of these sparkle fibers in them. And it is like priceless to find those. Sometimes just the way that the shirt is printed, like the graphic on it, that part is sparkly. And you can pull those through too. I mean, it's endless. When you're thrifting for your clothes, it really is endless what you can do. It's absolutely gorgeous. The honeycomb is gold cut wool. And you said my inspiration? I cut and stitch around my burlap, grab a Sharpie, and I just go. I love that about you. It's the seat of the pants school of art. What's better than that, right? That is so pure. The design often changes as I go. For instance, I drew my bird, started hooking, ran out of the colors, and decided to chop him up into cubes of color. Isn't that funny? Because we were just talking about you abstracting the bird. You abstracted the bird because you ran out of the colors. That is the absolute definition of rug hooking, isn't it? That is the absolute definition. That is so inspiring. Absolutely love that. And if you are coming to this craft as a beginner or you're looking for a shift in style to try something new, try working in this style. It might be daunting if you're a very technical person, but just try to let it go. Just try to let it go, right? We're coming up to the new year, all kinds of habits and things that are very restricting, or if you feel they're restricting, try to let everything go, right? Just in time for the new year and give it a shot. And with the bee, I finished him first and then decided to add the hexagon. So I traced out a hexagon all around him. It was basically a doodle. Rarely do I know what I'm going to do with colors. I just sit down and you get started. I'm not a planner. I just let it evolve. I'm pleased if anyone likes him. Well, I think everyone likes him, and I love him. It is somewhat daunting to see everyone's beautiful work, so I try not to get intimidated. I'm very happy to hear that. There is so much talent out there. There is a lot of talent out there, and a lot of that talent is in your body too, and in your hands, and in your approach. And it is a great inspiration to keep saying to people, try this style, try working in this style. You will end up with an abstracted bird and a honeycomb bee. If you just put that pile of clothes next to you on the table and just let it rip, right? Why not? It takes nerve. I know it does, but give it a shot. So Sharon Kolb, this KOLB, absolutely beautiful piece, was inspired by now I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Senators illustration poster. I tried to contact them, but never heard back. Well, that definitely happens. It is, however, significantly changed. I'm sure. I'm sure it's absolutely fine. The original had lots of bees, but my grandson had a bad accident with bees and would only agree to one bee. That's a great part of the story, isn't it? That I mean, not the part that there was a bad accident with bees, but that is an absolutely great part of the story. Another great example of morphing something, right? Let me finish the text and then I'm going to look at it too. He also wanted foxes, not hares, and a snake. Well, there would be such a tension between the hares and the foxes, right? And the snake is patterned on one of the snakes in his fake snake collection. Oh, how funny is that? He's got like plush snakes or rubber snakes or something. We also included some weird beetles. Amazing. I'm looking at them too. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The blue background is hand dyed by me, as are some of the other wools. It is wool, cloth, and wool yarn, mostly in outline. Oh, okay. A lot of it is outlined. It gives it such a great graphic pop. This piece measures 21.5 by 35, and you used an Eaton, Eaton, edge binding. The Eaton, okay, so the Doris Eaton edge binding method. Doris Eaton was a wonderful Canadian rug hooker. I forget what her book was called. It's super rare. I know I've looked at it on Coffee Time. She was an extraordinary hooker, and she came up with her own technique for finishing edges and corners. And if you look up Doris Eaton on YouTube, she's got some videos on there, and she does show the Eaton method of finishing the borders. So that's well worth looking at. That's another great finishing video. So the Eaton method of finishing the border. Um, I love the rug. She says it was a labor of love and collaboration. Well, it is just extraordinary. So this has such an illustrative quality for me, in part because it's outlined, in part because of the contrast, in part just because the composition is such a story, right? When you think of illustrations, you expect to see a story. You expect to be able to read it like text. In this case, you can. You're looking up from the ground and you're looking at the creatures of the ground and the mushrooms and all of the things. It is a treasure that are sort of squeezed into that ground, almost like a jigsaw. I mean, what a lot of fun working on a composition like this, being able to put these things next to each other, near each other, make decisions about beetles and snakes, and pattern them on existing things that are already inside your house that have special meaning to the family. And then the sort of next level or shelf of interest is the leaves and the two little faces on the two cat characters, right? Like two little twins, perfectly matched out there and perfectly framed with this canopy of flowers. And then up into the sky with all of these flying bugs that are so beautiful. Just a reminder that some creatures that I think we don't appreciate as much, like bugs and frogs and snakes, are celebrated in this piece. And what a great flip, right? Looking at these things and looking at their little bodies and thinking, wow, those are beautiful. Those are really beautiful. Those are worthy subjects for a gorgeous rug like this. This is a very busy rug. And what makes it work? Well, the color choices make it work, right? We go from the very dark ground. It's a good solid outline there so we can see that the story is moving upward. Oh, Ryan, great to see you. Oh, I can't. I've got the picture in. I have to say, I snuck in a picture because I was looking at that thread on our Facebook group. We're coming to that later in the show. The colors really pop here. There's a lot of yellows and there's a lot of blues. And then there's a lot of neutrals like the browns. So this is really working well, color wheel style, lights against darks, right? It's got a lot of thought that's gone into color planning, and the outlining is helping a lot. Um, but because of the nature of the piece, right, we know that it's a busy piece at first glance. And then as soon as you start looking at it, you do look at the different sections because it is well sectioned off from the sort of ground or underground to the story on the grass to the sky. It's very well sectioned off. We've got an outline for the ground, and then we've got a canopy of flowers, and then everything above that is sky material. So it's very well composed. And for that reason, when you have a great composition, it's going to work. Right? And when you plug in really strong colors, as is the case here with what Sharon did, it's going to be a masterpiece. This is just an extraordinary piece. I absolutely love it. It is really, really beautiful. Ryan, I'm not sure if you're on tonight. I was so sad last week because it was Ryan's birthday and Ryan's mother's birthday. That was one of the things. I mean, I had like at least I think 3 rugs of Ryan's to show. um, that was the thing I was the most upset about. I was super upset that all of my stuff got deleted, and it was like something that does happen and is a known glitch. I felt very frustrated and sad for myself that I wasted time. But the thing that I felt the worst about was that it was Ryan's birthday and Ryan's mother's birthday, and that you were set up to watch the show and I had no show. That was the thing that really unhinged me last Sunday night. Here we are. Let's look tonight. This is an extraordinary piece. Now, Ryan, you have been punching away, and it is just. I'm watching you like a hawk, right? I'm watching you like a predator, like a buzzard, because your work is so exciting to me. You wrote, and again, this was intended for last week, that it was you and your mom's birthday on Sunday the 20th. Belated happy birthday. These are some punch pieces that you've made since October when we did our last gallery show. This one is called The Meeting Place, and this is 12 by 12. So this is mostly wool that you dyed yourself, and it is a UFO scene. The UFO is like in black and white. The border is yarn. It's acrylic yarn, right? So this is a great plug for acrylic yarn because a lot of people think, have been talked into the idea that you're not supposed to use synthetic materials. You use whatever you want. Look at how great it looks when you use acrylic yarn, right? Or anything that you would get from the craft store is going to be suitable, right? So I wouldn't block it. I wouldn't do anything with heat with synthetics. But in terms of using it, making art for the wall, absolutely. Look at what you can do with it. This is amazing. This is a great calling card. Red Heart or Lion or whoever should be taking your work and putting it on the labels of their yarn. Absolutely extraordinary. I absolutely love this piece. It is so odd. That's why I love this piece. It is so odd. I just love it. I'm looking at it right now. I'm lost for it, and I love the sort of rising sun. And I know you have a little bit left at this point on the flying saucer. That little bit of white I thought was a highlight, but I think you're filling that in with gray. If it is a highlight, it looks great. I love it the way it is. I just love it. I just love it. I love all your wacky pieces. Those are my favorite pieces. You also did two beautiful chair mats that are, again, functional and beautiful. Two chair mats, all acrylic yarn, and these are 14 by 14. So this is one of them, and you did it in this exaggerated lamb's tongue or scallop design, if you will, whichever you prefer, clamshell, right? Any of these. And this is the second one. So they're similar, but they are completely different. And I wanted to ask Ryan, did you freehand these? Like, did you just punch as you went, or did you kind of draw in the lines? Because a pattern like this, as a great abstracted but known pattern, is so interesting to see. Punching is such a great medium, right? Because with punching, my opinion, and it might be different than yours, but with punching, I feel you get great speed, but you don't always get great detail. That's why doing something like this is absolutely perfect. Look at the color changing yarn that's in this piece too. Isn't that a killer? And that mint green, right? I think that's more of a mint green than a white. You are a natural at color planning. Absolutely natural. My mom says, looking at Ryan's piece, I find myself telling stories. It is absolutely wonderful. Ryan, of course you're there. Of course you're there. All of your designs tonight are freehand, Sharpie on backing. So maybe the theme for tonight is, we always have two Ryans on, right? So I'm always confused. It doesn't take much. It doesn't, I mean, I drank 2 sips of this. You know I did. So you know it's not that. It's a great inspiration to know how people work. That's one of the things about tonight that's so important, is finding out how other people work. Because if you're a very technical person, you want to know all your choices. You want to know what other people are doing. You want to visualize it all and be 1,000% sure about what the process is. Not 100, 1,000, right? If you're technical, you know that feeling. And then there's this other school of people who are the exact flip side, who are 100% creative and just sit down like Ryan and Linda with a Sharpie and just go and change it as you go. So two sort of polar opposites of working, and you figure out what your balance is in terms of how technical do I need to be, right? And how much can I let it rip? Because they're both fun, and it's good to challenge yourself to cross over to the other one just as an experiment, right? I was confused because the last name was different. Well, we've got both Ryans in the show tonight. So good, so good. And Ryan, this last one is my favorite. I thought after October's cocktail time that there could not be another favorite, and yet my favorite. I absolutely love this piece. This is just, this is called Funhouse, 12 by 12, absolutely over the top. We talk often on Coffee Time about folk art, and that conversation often takes us to the world of the amusement park, where there is, go to an amusement park, particularly an old one. You will see more folk art than your brain can handle, right? You'll be taking more pictures than your phone can hold. There is so much good art at the amusement park, and this is such a great hat tip to an amusement park. Funhouse, if you dare, right? This like devilish face with these kind of pig pink cheeks and this mysterious swirl in the mouth. Enter if you dare. Oh God, Ryan, I just love this so much. I love the shape of the eyes. I love that little sort of Cupid type cutie pie nose, but like the evil face still. There's such a contradiction there. And then the if you dare, that kind of threatening text is fun. Color changing background, unbelievable. the way that you made this mound, right, leading into it like a road heading right into that mouth, and then you did some vertical color changes, right, some sort of directional striping that not vertical, horizontal, that brings your eye straight across. Because this is a very round composition. So if we were looking at this composition in fine art terms, you answer this question to yourself, but I'm going to say, what letter would this be? Because we often equate the lines of a composition in fine art historically with different letters. And some letters work better than others. And X is a great one, and Z is a great one, R is a great one, K is a great one, and O is a great one. O is a great one, and this is an O for me for sure. So I absolutely love the circular thrust of this piece with all of this directional horizontal hooking, because it is contrast, isn't it? It's contrast and interest. Look at the sky going up to those shelves of color, more shelves of color, color changing yarns. It just, for me, it doesn't get any better than this. If I saw this in a gallery, I would go straight to it and I would be looking to acquire it. Honestly, I would. I would go straight to this piece. This is just right up my alley. Ryan says, I used some of your dyed wool for the cheeks and the text, excellent. Duran Duran and Tilt-A-Whirl. Absolutely. Oh, those great Duran Duran covers, right? The other Ryan, you did a great piece that really evoked for me the Rio cover of Duran Duran. Those great graphics, right? Those very flat graphics of that era. Super 80s colors. Tilt-A-Whirl, Duran Duran, Swatch Watch. It's all wrapped into one phenomenal piece. That swirl in the middle is just so cool, Ryan. It's so cool. I love it. And I love the way the teeth are coming down like a gate, like more threat right there. I mean, it's just, I just love this piece. I love this piece. And I'm so sorry I missed doing this on your birthday. Phenomenal. Stephanie, you sent some beauties too. You slayed me with this piece because when I saw it, I thought, I'm just not going to hook my own pieces anymore. I'm just going to let Stephanie and Scar, we have this funny joke going where Stephanie sort of personifies Scarfield the cat, like one of the pumpkin faces. And he speaks sometimes in emails and says very sarcastic things, kind of like Scarfield Garfield. But when I see things that you've done that I've designed, I think, why do I even bother? I could save the time and just have you hook everything, right? This is absolutely beautiful. So this is the pattern that came out in October. A lot of people bought this pattern. I was very pleased. It was called The Familiar, which is, I'm making a reference to the cat, which is the witch's familiar. And the little cat is going trick-or-treating. He's got his little pumpkin there. You have perfectly done this pattern. The color changes in the background. I planned it with the 3 pale stars, and somehow your stars, even though they're the exact same color, look way better than mine. I just love your color changes in the background because it really has this antique feel to it, like really like 1860s feel to it with all of the color changes, and somehow mine doesn't. So I just love this. That's a great point, Juliet. The complementary colors, the orange with the purple is always going to be a killer, and then the black, right, is your neutral, so that works great. In the body of the skirt, I included in this pattern, and this pattern is available year-round, lots of different tweeds and herringbones that were of purple, aubergine, and black families. A little bit of orange, too. So using more or less of those patterned wools, I used less in mine, and I have to say I like it with more. So you just plug them in hit or miss style into just her skirt, not the bodice, because you really need the shape of her body to tell the story of the witch's arm extended, holding the paw of the little familiar as he trick-or-treats. But you can go crazy in the background and crazy in the skirt with this piece. And Stephanie, I mean, this is just the most incredible job. It's just incredible. I loved, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I love the tone of the skin with this. This is like, the tone of the skin is I was using as my base a Dharma color called Lime Pop. And I forget what I mixed it with. I think it might have been maybe like Pro Chem, Key Lime, something like that, to get this very pale neon green, almost sickly, but with the copper hair. I just loved it. Sue says directional hooking feels like casting a spell. Ooh, interesting. Isn't that interesting? It does feel like that. There's so much movement around the stars. This is a very small piece. I can't remember off the top of my head what the measurements were, but it is a quite small piece, and I felt suitable for a beginner. I think some beginners left out the pumpkin that the cat was holding. It was just the cat and the figure, and Did the background a more simple way, left out stars, things like that. All fine. You could even do the skirt all in black and not save those, textured or patterned wools for other things. It really, with a pattern like this, it had very few lines, so you could take it in any direction. But for me, this was just, outrageous. Outrageously good. Absolutely love it. And a second piece that you did, this is the Prati Pilgrim hat. This is another one of mine that pales in comparison to this. This one looks so much prettier. This is a ribbon candy hooking that I put out as a Prati pattern with all the pre-cut leaves and petals and all that last year. And this is always available too. But it was kind of an antique black upturned pilgrim hat that's functioning as a vase with all of these Prati flowers that you're meant to it came with lots of different colors and lots of different colored leaves. It was another one of these patterns that had a lot of room for play for ambitious beginners or people who are more experienced, depending on how you feel. The idea is to play and to choose where you want to put your pieces. Stephanie, I wonder if that's Quilly in the top left flower. That top left one, the rose one. There are Quilly because now I'm looking at, I think you told me this. Did you write this in the thing too? Let me read your thing. The one on the top right too. The white one looks like it has Quilly in the middle. The Quilly are those little cinnamon rolls, the little coiled up circles. So you said both of these are Christmas gifts. I know they're familiar is an odd Christmas gift, but the colors in the subject will make my granddaughter smile. I had a duh moment accompanied by laughing from Scar, right, the pumpkin, when I watched your short reel on how to do the points of the stars. That is a very good short video. I have to, if I do say so myself, it helps keep those tips on the stars super, super sharp. Um, you also found out the causes of the purple pumpkin eating fiend in the other room. Oh, that's Scar. Oh, I'm just reading through your emails. I've already read it, but it is so super funny. You didn't mention the Quillies, but I am sure that those are Quillies. And the beauty of this pattern, I think, was that you could do anything, right? All the leaves and stuff were supplied, but there were lots of extra colors in case you didn't like all of the colors I chose. But you can see that Stephanie did lots of different things in the centers of the flowers. And Stephanie, I feel like with this one, you said that your mom was working with you, kind of over your shoulder, working with you quite a bit on this one. So you got a lot of help. And yeah, it's always good to brainstorm, isn't it? Dave, welcome. You've got your chips and your beer. Great to see you. The background, perhaps the old woodship of the Mayflower. Absolutely. Suze, this background was one of my toughest projects because I wanted the background to fade into the background, but I wanted it to evoke like the plenty of Thanksgiving and all of the colors of the season because I had like an antique black hat with an ivory band and a gold buckle and then lots of colorful flowers. So this was, I wish I had it with me. I should have brought it on my desk because I dyed a lot of this. It was a spot dyed brown, rose, sage green. Like it was like looking at stuffing, right? Like a Thanksgiving dinner plate with cranberry colors, stuffing colors, like all the browns of meats and skins and all of that, and some lights. It was completely crazy, but very warm, and I felt very Thanksgiving color palette. And I still have some of that. I keep holding on to it in case people order more of this one or I have another great inspiration. But yeah, thank you. I loved that. Oh, Sherry, that's okay. The beginning's recorded. There's still so much left. There's such good stuff left. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Yeah, thank you on that background. It was one of the goods. I don't often do a spot background because I have to keep making them when people order them, which is great. That is what having a business is about. Um, but that was such an intricate spot background. It was so many colors and it was so exact. So thank you. I appreciate that because it was a very time consuming one. Karen, you killed it. You're out of the park as usual, as always. So Karen Garby did this one. A couple of photos from your latest rug. You just finished hooking it and you're now working on whipping the edges. I think you already finished it because that was a week ago. So there's two photos here. Let's look at the first one first. So let me see. I loved working on this piece because of the fanciful Jacobean flowers and leaves. I was not burdened by trying to represent the flowers in any particular colors. I love the phrasing that you use there that you were not burdened. And isn't that, sorry, I was trying to move that slide and it's not working, just over a little bit. Don't be burdened. Don't allow yourself to be burdened unless you want to, right? I mean, if you're looking for inspiration at a Victorian book of color plates of flowers and you want that kind of anatomical perfection, then that's a great source and that's the way to do it. But in this case, I love the idea of you not being burdened. You did a really striking black background. You did a very light outline. And man, does that pop. It almost looks like decoupage, right? It almost looks like it's collage. It's so beautifully done. It is so crisp. What a great technique using a light outline on a blackest black background. Isn't that absolutely brilliant? And not being sort of detoured by worrying about color choices in the flowers is hugely liberating, and it results in an incredibly artistic piece. Which doesn't, I'm not saying that when you do literal colors that is boring or less. I'm just saying, man, I feel you not being burdened by color choices. This is a great way of striking out. Melanie says, stunning. I love the light outline. I do too. It looks like a nice light green, right? Super, super fresh little green. Cass says, wow, you have such a great sense of color. Beautiful. It is absolutely, it is absolutely, Karen, you are amazing. Like, you are just amazing. So let me show you the second, well, let me read this first. So she says, it's dark blue. That background is a dark blue, not a black. Olive green, cranberry plaid, hooked up beautifully, but looks like black in the overall photo. So we know that it's dark blue. I ran out of the plaid when I was about 90% done. Classic. Um, but I challenge you to find where I included the different wool. Ooh, it's on. I loved working on this piece because, okay, the fans will. So let's look at the close-up too. I'm never going to, I've got my crazy glasses on that are like number fives or something. I know I'm never going to be able to figure out where the change is. We'll look back at it. This is an extreme close-up of the background. So extreme close-up of the light blue, and there's some plaid in there. Isn't that remarkable? It's so dark it reminds me of like the Scottish Black Watch, right? Like those really, really dark backgrounds, plaids. So I am never going to figure out because it reads as black. And it's even more interesting to me that it's not black. But I think this is a great situation, when you do work yourself into a corner, it was Benedict. When you work yourself into a corner, and you are really running out of something, right? It's like that race against time. You feel like if you work faster, you might not run out, right? Do you do that too? It's like, guess what? It's like a physical eventuality that I don't have enough yarn, so I'm going to run out no matter how. It's like if you eat so fast, you might be able to finish your plate before you realize that you're full and have to waste any of it, right? It's these kinds of weird behaviors that humans do. Um, but if you do work yourself into this kind of an awful corner where you're feeling like you're running out of something and you're panicking, if you've got a second material going like a plaid, just start plugging that in somewhere else. Just start plugging more of that. Don't burden yourself. I'm going to use your word, Karen. Don't burden yourself with worrying about pulling. It's up to you. Obviously, it's always up to you. But you don't have to pull out what you've done, right? You don't have to. You can just move forward with putting plaid in different areas. And like Karen's saying, I challenge you to find it. We're never going to find it. It's a Where's Waldo. It's not going to happen. It's so well done. It's also well embedded. And the background is so cohesive that there's no way that we're going to look at it and go, what a striking problem that is. Um, what a sorry shame. She ran out of that color at a certain point. Never going to happen. If anything, it enhances it, right? Gives us something to look for. Karen, this is such a beautiful piece. Just your latest really extraordinary piece. Melanie. Oh, and I do have two more because I did think to Kaz, I'm still going to be looking for yours on my phone here. I did see that there was the newest version of it today on Facebook, and I grabbed that too. So Melanie, you sent this. You said, hello, Deana. I pulled out the textured yarn and I went with 2 colors of red. I used soft camel color around the hood. Oh, yeah, I can see that. Oh, that's working real good. Around the hood, cuff and hem. I still haven't decided what to do for the background. Well, you will have by the 3rd slide. The pattern shows a gray and a cream, but I'm thinking of some soft blues. Isn't it great to get this working, talking through the working part of it, right? But I'm thinking some soft blues and greens. I don't know. I'm thinking I may put a toggle on the bag or a gold buckle. The pattern is from the Woolen Gardener. So that's wool apostrophe, the letter N, Gardener, on primitive linen. Cheers from cold and sunny Washington State. Oh my gosh, right? I bet it is. My word. Um, oh, so wait a minute. So let's move to the next because I got another. I've made progress on my Santa. It's like reading a diary, isn't it exciting? I've made progress on my Santa. I am so glad you got your computer working. Me too. I really missed you. I missed you too. God, that was awful. I was watching an old cocktail time and you were talking about different backings. I ran across a material called linen burlap. Absolutely. It looks like primitive linen, but it's about half the price. Ever heard of it? Not really. I stock primitive linen and Michelle Micarelli's linen, and I really should go outside my box there and look for some different ones. But I do plan to go to Door Mill in the next couple of weeks, and I bet they stock it. So I might have a look at it. What I really want is to touch it and get a feel for it. But thanks for even putting it out there because now I will be looking for that. That sounds like a great sort of crossbreed of backing. And at that price, that's incredible. It doesn't feel like burlap. It has a very soft feel. I'm going to have to search for that. That's a great tip. Now, this is a beautiful piece. Gail, I didn't see you come on. Good morning in Australia. Great to see you. Happy morning, sunshine. Rise and shine, right? Good to see you. Now, you got really far in this, Melanie, in like such a short time. And I love these swirls in the background. Very folky Santa. This is a great kind of saddlebag thing. Slung around him, right? All these like lumps inside of it. Really pretty. It looks like such nice old leather. I love it. I love it. And you did finish it. You finished it in the end. So we can see what all the final decisions were. I love that one star in the sky, like the North Star, right? That's like a little crossover star. Secular, non-secular, really beautiful. I love the staff. I love the Van Gogh swirls. I love that. Donna, great to see you. I love that little Charlie Brown tree. It's so folky and good. I love that red border, really picking up Santa's cloak. It is such a thoughtful piece. It's such a moment. It's such a still moment on a busy night, right? Isn't that beautiful? I just love this piece. I just love this piece. Absolutely beautiful. You did a great job, Melanie. It is an extraordinary piece and super festive. And Wendy. Wendy has been doing the most incredible work with plastic bags. Do you remember? I have this a little bit smaller because I was having a little bit of trouble with the resolution. I'm sure it was on my end. I kept trying to put it into different programs to stretch it. But this is done with plastic bags. Wendy, this is becoming like your signature material, your signature technique. Um, Super inspiring piece. I'm just reading your comments on Melanie's Santa, and it was exquisite. So simple, so perfect, right? So Wendy wrote, Hi, Deana. I was at the Cleveland Art Museum last week viewing an Impressionist show that included Van Gogh, Pierre Bonnard, Camille Pissarro, Renoir, Monet, Manet, etc. Also, two 19th century French artists with whom I was not familiar. Georges Braque, right? So he's like the famous cubist, and Odilon Redon. So we're going to come back to those at a future time. This was from a different text. Oh, I screwed this up. Sorry about that. Let that go. That was from the last coffee night. How did I manage that? Hold on. Okay, wait a minute. This is okay. I hope I didn't show this one last time. I don't think I did. At least that's why I put it in here. So this is called Sassafras Leaves, which shows that all gray bags are not the same color. Well, that's a great point because if the background is hooked completely in gray plastic shopping bags, it is very clear that they are not the same color, right? That is extraordinary. Um, Jay, can you do me a favor? He's in the other room. Kaz, I'm trying to nab him. Sassafras leaves. So in addition to the yellow dollar store bags, now if you have a dollar store near you, you know they always give these yellow bags. So that is very handy to have this. This mat also includes a clear cereal bag and a gold plastic tablecloth. Oh, you went all out. This is absolutely crazy. The orange color is from a dinner roll bag, and pink is from a drugstore bag. So much fun to hook. I'm also cutting the strip slightly larger, closer to 1 inch. Since your suggestion during the gallery show, well, don't take my suggestions. They're usually wrong. I always cut them larger, but you all do such good work. I hate to make any remarks about what I do, but this is coming out. I mean, this came out great. I love all gray bags are not the same, right? For me, that's the takeaway here. I love knowing that the little pinkies are from the drugstore and that the yellows, you know, which ones came from bread, which one came, the cereal container, right, that's like inside the box. It's amazing. This work always looks so crystal to me, things that are done in plastic bags. I just find it amazing, remarkable that you can push this medium so far. And you do. You push it so far. It's just an extraordinary piece. Jay, can I ask you for a favor? Can you pull up the Facebook group and see if you can find the post where Kaz was posting from the Monet exhibit a couple days ago, right, Kaz, where she has on her denim jacket with the Monet?
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to hold the phone up and show you because that's just too. Colleen, great to see you. That
You
is.
just want to see the jacket?
I want to see the whole post. I want to flip through those pictures. Juliet says, I wish you'd post a close up of the hook bag. You know, in the other one, the other photos I had, the quality seemed different. Again, it could easily be me, and it usually is with technical stuff. But the last gallery night, I showed two of Wendy's other works really close up, and you could really see the plastic bags. So this one I struggled with, but if you look at the last gallery night, there's two there, and they're really close up. They might also be in our Facebook group, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, ampersand symbol. If you look up Wendy Simon, a lot of her plastic bag stuff is in there too. And let me show you this while we're at it. I'm going back to, hold on just a second. Wendy, that was another beautiful piece. I am so inspired, right, to be using bags. Honestly, I never thought I would feel so inspired by plastic bags, but you can see that they are a proper medium. I'm coming back to the beginning here because I was a ding dong and forgot to include the most recent post. So just a refresher if you're joining us later. Kaz, you finished the Monet. You posted some beautiful pictures. So here it is. I'm going to show this to you here, and hopefully this works. Let's see if it can come in. It's not ideal, but you can see she finished the Monet and she mounted it to the back of her denim jacket. So that is the lady with the parasol all finished.
I'm listening if you need anything.
Okay, thank you. And here you are wearing it at the Monet exhibit. Was the Monet exhibit like the Monet exhibit in that things moved around you like on the floor and ceiling? I'm just wondering because I have such a problem with like feeling seasick with stuff like that. I'm just wondering if it was a bit gentler on the senses, you know. Absolutely beautiful. Sorry, Cass, I got to show sneak peek of the exhibit. So if you loved the Van Gogh, right, and who didn't, this great sort of immersive event with the Monet, and Kaz, you wrote, it was at least as good as the Van Gogh, if not better. I'm out of focus now. I'm going to make myself sick. It was super brilliant, right, Bob? Super brilliant. So beautiful. Plastic bag. And Gail says plastic bags are made to disintegrate in Australia. Now, Gail, I wonder if that would be a problem, though, right? For hooking. Do you think that would be a problem? I mean, I suppose it could be. That's a great twist to think on, because I wonder here too if sometimes they are made also to disintegrate, and I wonder what the timeline on that would be. That is really interesting. Melanie says to Kaz, I bet you got more attention than the exhibit with that jacket. Absolutely, I bet you did. That is so funny. That's interesting. I'm thinking about those plastic bags and wondering how quickly they are meant to disintegrate. Ooh, that's a thought, isn't that? So, all right, let's come back here. Thoughts rolling around my head. Not very many, but a few. So let's see. Let me come back here. Trying to figure out where we were. Okay, so Dave, you sent some. Dave always sends ideas. You send great ideas. And you send me down the craziest rabbit holes, which I love. So you sent an email and you said, you hope I'm feeling better. I'm sort of okay. Thank you. I definitely feel better. Things are definitely better. You came across some ideas for gallery night, and you always come up with these great ideas that are rabbit holes, and I have to go down the rabbit holes at length because they are always great. And I never thought of either of these things for a show night, but these are both great inspiration pieces. The first one is Bisa Butler, who's a textile artist. I'm going to show you some of her work. I had never heard of her, and I went way down the rabbit hole. This might be something that you want to do tonight or when you have time. You have got to Google. Her first name is Bisa Butler, Butler. She is a textile artist. Let me show you the kind of work that she does. So this is her. Gorgeous woman standing in front of one of her pieces. She is a textile artist focusing on African American photos, textiles, and the culture. very colorful, very dramatic work. Really great designs, amazing patterning. She is a mostly quilting textile artist, but Dave is making the point. This kind of inspiration, this kind of patterning would translate so well to rug making. Patterning. It has such a modern feel, but this great storytelling quality. So I pulled up a bunch of her work and I just want to show you what it looks like because I think Dave is 1000% right. Um, this is like an inspiration spring. So this is the one that Bisa was standing in front of. Um, Absolutely beautiful piece. You can see the fusion of patterns. You can also see in the faces that this trick that she's doing with quilting, right, as a medium. We see this often in rug making and rug hooking, where you are using kind of complementary colors to create shadow. Very unnatural colors, a lot of people, but very striking and super successful. A lot of people try to do this kind of color planning when you're handling a face or skin tone. Look at the hands too, with complementary colors for shadows and contours. There are a lot of computer programs, even your phone, different filters will help you with figuring this out. So my voice is going a little bit. I'm sorry. This is all of Bisa's work. I mean, it's so striking. So she's doing it's all portraiture, right? But she is layering on extraordinary amounts of patterning, both into the motif, which is in this case the figures, and the background. The backgrounds are very busy, but because they are a pattern or a split pattern or a color blocked pattern, we know fully what to expect, and your eye accepts it and says, "Ah, I get it. I get it. I love it." There is a static quality to her work that is extraordinary given the amount of color that is in her work, right? And the dynamic movement. I mean, isn't it extraordinary? Again, patterning. Talk about Swatch Watch and Duran Duran, right? I mean, it's this kind of color, and it does have certainly this like African feel to it. When you look at the fabric, I'm gonna say if you love this kind of fabric, if you love quilting with it, if you love hooking with it, the big craft stores, right? Not that I want to just tout big craft stores, but if all you have is a good craft store, is like a big box one like Joann's or Michael's, that's where you shop, right? So they do have a section that is called world or global fabrics, and it is super expensive. Like you are looking at African like wax fabrics and things like that that are like close to $30 a yard because they are imported, they are extraordinary. In many cases, they are like hand done, intricate processes and all of that, but they are so extraordinary to work with. Even if you're cutting them up and hooking with them, it's just beautiful material to work with. So all of this patterning, I absolutely agree. There is so much going on. It gives me so many ideas for composition, and it is just a great reminder that if you like portraiture, that you can go really far with portraiture, with color, with layers of patterning. There are only two layers here, right? It's like the people in the foreground and then the background. And yes, there's a lot going on. And yes, there's a lot of contrasting colors and a huge mixture of materials. But nonetheless, your eye is saying, I can see a silhouette of two people. I can read that perfectly. And give me another loud print in the background because I can take it. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? So that's Bisa Butler. That was one of the suggestions that Dave made. And Dave, you brought me in the second suggestion to one of my favorite people who I completely, I don't want to say forgot about, but haven't thought about lately. Gloria Vanderbilt. Um, I think we often underestimate what an extraordinary artist Gloria Vanderbilt was. She is. I mean, just look at this family photo, right? This, I mean, on Anderson Cooper's website and blogs and stuff. He also, because this is his mom, right? Um, has a lot of personal family anecdotes and stuff. It just seems like they were such a funny family. Wendy, we just did yours. We just did yours. You have to look back on it. People were just fawning over the plastic bags as always because they were amazing. We did the sassafras leaves. You can see above the family hair on the wall is one of her collages. Dave, this is a great suggestion because there's so much on Gloria Vanderbilt on the internet. You can pull up so much of her work. I have her collage book, and I could not find it for this show or last week. It's well hidden. But these are some of the images that are in her collage book. She worked in collage. She did extraordinary patterning and work. Her images are not copyright free, but they are fantastic for inspiration. In this case, the contrast between that very simple line drawn face, very Matisse, right? Or Picasso, very, right? But then all of this color around the edges, right? Choices, right? Dark background, lots of patterning, very simple line drawing for a face. You could easily do something like that as a hook drug. More patterning, right? Crazy patterning like Bisa Butler. Layers of patterning, but in this case, very flat patterning. Storytelling happening here. We do have a figure. We do have some elongated, flattened surfaces. This is fantastic modern art. This is collage. And I was mentioning last week, isn't it a great idea to work out your color planning as collage work? Just in terms of getting yourself sorted or trying to figure out what your color scheme is going to be. This is like a seated woman in a stripy chair, right? And she's like in an armchair, and then the sweep of her like open front robe or dress going down toward the bottom. So the almost like an Elizabethan costume where you're seeing part of a petticoat kind of thing underneath, but probably a contemporary like house dress or robe. So absolutely amazing. Um, so Gail, you wrote earlier, I stored some wool in a gray bag, and 6 months later it started to break up. Gail, thank you. That is the answer. So the bags that we know to be biodegradable are not going to work for hooking because your piece is going to have a 6 month life. That is absolutely crucial information. Thank you so much for that. That is like really important to today's conversation. I'm just reading some comments because I know we have some places that do biodegradable bags too, and that sounds like super upset and disappointment, doesn't it? This is more work from Gloria Vanderbilt. I just put a bunch of her pieces in here because I just wanted to flip through them quickly. I'm just so I'm just so moved by her work, and you know what I love about it is I would normally think about gingham and say there is nothing about gingham that is interesting or attractive for me. Well, I'm so wrong, right? This woman looking in the mirror, like at her little vanity table or whatever, um, she's looking at herself in what looks like a new hat or something. Maybe she's working on a new hat. It looks like there might be some sewing materials there or whatever. Maybe she's just putting it on and doing the whole coif. Regardless, there is a huge amount of gingham in this piece in all different colors. I really associate gingham with the 1960s, 1970s as one of the lower end cottons. And I completely misjudged it because its use here is amazing. Remember that you can use cottons for rug hooking too. You just cut them or rip them and hook with them, either into a traditional rug hooking backing like linen, like burlap, like rug warp, like monk's cloth, or into an unexpected backing, much thicker pieces, 1.5 to 2 inches, into latch hook backing. Go ahead and do it. Casey Shaw, great to see you in Wisconsin. You've got some fellow Wisconsinites on here for sure. At least three, I think, tonight. Um, I just love this piece. I just thought food for thought, right? It just goes to show don't judge, don't judge. Revisit all of the things that you thought you hated. They might provide great inspiration. Maybe 2023 is all about revisiting the things I hate, right? Be so surprised. And doesn't it feel good to be wrong? I love to be wrong. I really do. Because I feel like I've made some kind of intellectual, emotional turnaround, and I give myself a huge kiss on the biceps and pat on the back for that. But at the same time, I think, yeah, now I have more things to play with because I backed up that opinion and it gave me some more wiggle room, right? So much fun. More gingham, right? Smaller scale gingham here, but this is like a beautiful Madonna, like a nice sort of religious piece, kind of a shrine looking thing with the little babe. What looks like a beautiful medieval piece, but done 1970s probably. A very flat collage, really extraordinary piece. So flipping through, and Donna says, did she use fabric in her collage? Yeah, she uses. From what I remember, this is the book that I can't find, but I have this book and I'll look at it in detail. My memory of this book is it's all fabric. I might be wrong, but I feel like it's all fabric. In different fabrics. This is what it looks like on the inside of the book. I just nabbed some pictures off eBay and stuff. But you can see she does a lot of fooling around with color versus black and white. And that was kind of that time, right? The late mid-century look. is playing with these new colors, black and white, that we weren't really using before the mid-century, and mixing them with really vibrant colors. A couple more of her pieces. She also did paintings. So her collages, my memory of her collages is that they were fabric. I could be wrong. There could be some all paper ones, but I also know that she worked in a lot of other mediums. And these are examples of two Gloria Vanderbilt pieces that went up for auction not that long ago. The one on the left, I think, is fabric, and she's sewn over it, which has become a really. But now I'm wondering because that face looks like very ripped, doesn't it? Could just be sewn on the sewing machine. This is a very contemporary style now, like the art quilt, right? That you do a lot of sewing over it and you create a lot of extra lines. Melanie says, is the background in that last one plastic or for? I was wondering that too. It looked like garbage bags again. I know what you mean, this one. Nope, wait a minute. It looked like black garbage bags to me. I was thinking the exact, nope, nope, this one. Yeah, that's a crazy material. I'm going to have to find the book to really get clarity on that. It could be plastic. I'm second guessing myself hugely because it looks like some of this stuff is paper. This might be this could be a mix because the gingham has got to be fabric, right? I'm going to say I am wrong. I'm very happy to be wrong. This must be partly paper. And doesn't the silver look like those paper doilies, right? That you get like for the holidays to put under muffins and cakes? The doilies come in like silver, gold, all different metallic colors. Now every color. But those look like silver doilies to me. That's kind of exciting. So, yeah, I mean, I wonder what kind of glue and everything she's using because now I'd be really worried about using a glue that would be able to be like an intermedium glue, that would be equally good for paper and fabrics and garbage bags or whatever else she's using. I cannot find this book, but I remember when I got it, it was a few years ago. I could not believe my eyes. I could not believe what I was looking at. It was extraordinary. Beautiful cat piece. So these are all Gloria Vanderbilt pieces. Go down the rabbit hole. That is the end of the Gloria Vanderbilt segment. Go down the rabbit hole. Dave, thank you for those two suggestions. Those are two super fun people to look at. Um, by the way, Bisa Butler is from Orange, New Jersey. She's 49 years old. Um, those were great suggestions. Thank you so much. So this one is by Cheryl Coppins. Cheryl, you did the, what did I call this? Tis Autumn pattern. This was a free pattern I put out at Ribbon Candy Hooking and also on our Facebook page, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. You popped this, you gave this a great, great pop. So my design ended at like the little sort of the tree shapes going up the side in green, and you added that border all the way around. Absolutely brilliant with the acorn corners. Absolutely brilliant. This looks like it's punched to me. This is so good. Um, really beautiful job. Beautiful soft color palette. I love the way you outlined the squirrel's body. In some places, it's just enough. And I love you. The pattern itself breaks the border. You break the border just a little bit too. I love breaking the border. It's just a little bit uncomfortable. So pretty. Just beautiful color choices. It's very romantic. It has that feel of autumn. It's very pale 1920s palette. It's just gorgeous. It is a very bluish squirrel, isn't it, Kaz? And I like that you included the year. There's not a lot of patterns I do anymore that have the year because I think maybe people get sick of it, but I love seeing the year once in a while. And you can always substitute that for your initials or just a repeat of the pattern, right? I love to see the year because then you remember, particularly if you're having a good year, right? Cheryl, this is such a beautiful piece. You did such creative things with the color, with the design. His tail even looks a bit fluffy. I don't know how you did that. He looks even more than mine, like he's nudging that nut a little bit. It's just really, really well done. You also bracketed off the tree design because in my pattern, I've got it on my canvas, right? I've got it kind of feeding into the background and it becomes confusing. And I have second and third guessed myself on that. And now I'm fourth guessing myself on that because it's like when I look at yours and it doesn't kind of wander into the background of the squirrel, it is a lot less confusing and I think more successful. You have a lot of borders on this and it still really holds itself. The pattern is beautiful, and I don't mean my drawing. I mean what you've done with this border and this very bold color. It almost looks like a picture frame, right? Absolutely beautiful. It is just beautiful. I love the tall speckles. It is it's such a good piece. It's such a good piece. It's so cartoony too. Uh-oh. You see what's going on there in the chat? The blue squirrel is gray. I guess he is blue, isn't he? I wondered if he was gray. Everyone's saying blue, and I know my monitor's not right. So that is just, it's so cool to do something in an unexpected color, isn't it? I know somebody's going to catch the person who is texting 69XXX fun, because we could definitely live without that during gallery night, right? Robin, you also took this pattern to an absolute extreme. Like this is also crazy. You did this as a runner. We saw the beginning of this on the last cocktail time gallery night, and here it is finished. A runner, right in time for the holidays. You did completely different decisions with this, and I love this so much. The squirrel at the top and bottom of the runner, right, making it not directional anymore, but going either way, whatever way you approach the table, you're going to see the same picture. Beautiful squirrel, great directional hooking in the background. The colors are just amazing. Like they're like the ultimate jewel box of colors. It is just amazing. I love the brown whipping on this too. That was really smart. It has like these earthy warm colors, but it also has this great like art deco feel. It's so sharp. The Harlequin center blows my mind. It just blows my mind. And I love the continuation of that little tree pattern, little berries on it. And then with the brown border that says 2020 on both sides, it's almost like it's grounding it. It's a great, you chop this up completely differently, and it's so smart. The way it's almost like postage stamped out, right? The two squirrels on one side, the harlequin in the center, running two borders, and then the two brown borders under the squirrel. So smart. Like you solved some real sort of math problems here with this, and it is absolutely beautiful. Did you have any trouble doing the diamonds, keeping those lines sharp? Because they look super sharp. I always struggle with diagonals a little bit, right? I always second guess myself whether I'm along the right line or not. Wendy says delightful variations on the squirrel. I love seeing it done so many different ways. My mom says I love seeing the morphing of the patterns expanding. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Why not, right? Gosh, such a good idea. Melanie says instead of trees, it looks like bittersweet with the little red berries. It does. It absolutely does. It is so pretty. I love the patterned wool inside some of those Harlequin squares diamonds too. It's so fun. Harlequin, anything with a Harlequin pattern is going to be playful, isn't it? Because it's going to bring you to like the playing card designs. It's so beautiful. Robin, you killed it. So beautiful. Robin and Cheryl, both incredibly beautiful pieces. Now, this is by Kathleen. Let me see if I have text. Yep, Kathleen said, the rug is for my granddaughter's second birthday. No, I've got the wrong one. I've got the wrong one. Okay, I've got more than one from Kathleen. Hold on just a second. Now, how much can I screw one thing up? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? I feel like I might be missing some text. Oh, maybe not. I used a red and white tweed for the Christmas tree. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, so the rug is for my granddaughter's second birthday. I love doing your vase. Okay, so she did my vase mat. That's a different thing. But she's saying of this one, I used velvet for the vase. I used red and white tweed on a Christmas tree to bind, and I'm hoping it would look like a candy cane. It absolutely is so, so super festive. So super festive. I think we're talking about this tree. I'm not sure because I know we have more from Kathleen. So we'll hang tight here. It's called, I think it was called Candied Tree, it looks like it says. Let me take a sip. I'm struggling a little bit with feeling like I have a cold, but that's okay. It's not the first time. This piece kills me for a few reasons. The background is the main reason. Now we see marble cake backgrounds a lot. I've not seen one like this before. This is so pretty. It's got that snowy white, but it still has that very, very clear veining that looks like marble cake. I mean, it's just so exquisitely done. It brings me right back to the 19th century rug aesthetic where people are running out of colors and trying to plug in similar colors, and you get these unexpected shapes. I just love it. And I love the texture of the tree, the different colors, the patterning of the tree. Nothing that you did is really directional hooking. You are being super thoughtful about the directions that you're hooking in to create these patterns. But this is like patterning hooking, right? As opposed to directional hooking, because you have created such a distinct pattern in the background, and you have created such a distinct pattern in the tree. And then to shape everything up really tidy and crisp, Very tidy little star, stump, and border. Clean and clear and crisp, in great contrast to those two patterns that you've given us. This is really smart, really exquisite work. You did a beautiful job. It's a simple tree design, but it's got so much more punch than that. Another beautiful rug by Kathleen Lynch. Sleep sweet within this quiet room, my Ellie, 2022. I mean, are you kidding me? This is your background. I think, Kathleen, that this is like your background. You are so good at doing this kind of background. Two similar colors, but you're not doing like the sort of concentric circles. You're not boxing it out. You are going full blast marble cake, and it is so organic, so light, so lacy, so pretty. Ellie is going to love this, right? This is just beautiful. Very controlled color palette, very sweet Victorian look, has like a postcard look to it. It is so gentle. It is such simple perfection. Did I miss something? And his pants are diamond rings. And his pants are diamond rings. What did I miss here? What did I miss? Are we talking about the squirrel and his pants are diamond rings? Now, maybe I have had too much to drink. We must be talking about the squirrel. Um, Sorry, I'm just catching up with the patterns because Melanie says, Donna, I saw that too. That needs to be hung in an art show. These are all exquisite. And this one's also dated. You see in the bottom right? Really, really special. This is just, I mean, talk about a gift, right? Talk about a gift. And another beauty from Kathleen, another seasonal beauty. I just love the simplicity of some of these. Kathleen, you're a master of simplicity. It's like it's just such a simple vignette, but there's so much going on. Little bit of color changing in the background, that kind of dark army green color. Lots of color changing to the pumpkin. We've got that kind of pistachio pumpkin color in the stalk, swirling it up. And this great, beautiful leaf too, with a lot of color in the leaf, right? All of the symbols of the season right there for us. From the quilting. Oh, okay, great. Good, good, I got it. One of the things I love about this piece is the shape, right? So we typically see squares, rectangles, sometimes ovals or half moons. This is such a great and simple take on a square. It's just a cropped corner, right? It's just a cropped corner. Think about it. This is an easy adaptation to any pattern, and it creates a lot of interest when you round or just lop off the corner at a bit more of a severe slice, right? So more squared off at the corners. Absolutely beautiful. Really, really pretty piece. Oh, this piece. This is the vase you were talking about. I'm such a dingbat. So this is the one. Okay, I'm so sorry, Kathleen. I feel like I lost some text. This is for your granddaughter's second birthday. I love doing. Okay, so this makes more sense. This is my vase mat. It is my vase mat, but I like this much better than the one that I did. This always happens to me, doesn't it? This was a pattern called Try to Remember. This is in the Ribbon Candy Hooking store. It's based on, I did a series of patterns that I felt looked like Baltimore album quilt blocks, and this was one of them. I brought this out, I think, 2 years ago in September, and I named it after my all-time favorite song, Try to Remember. And it's a vase pattern with these exaggerated ears, lots of leaves, but you, Kathleen, added flowers and you did them in velvet. And I love yours so much more than mine. It has a much more Art Deco feel. It's just it's just exquisite. And you can see how soft those flowers are. It is such a pretty take on a pattern that I like very much, but I like it even more now. So this is Kathleen Lynch's Try to Remember, and adapted beautifully with velvet flowers for your granddaughter. She's going to love this. This is an absolute heirloom piece. Spirit of the Pumpkin, Sue says of that pumpkin. Oh, that was so good. This is the original piece. So I like this too, but you can see this one pops so much more to me. This is the one that I did when the pattern came out. This is Try to Remember, kind of an antique background. So this is what the actual pattern looks like. And what I love about Kathleen's pattern, just besides her colors and her take on it, is she changed the composition. And you should absolutely change the composition. Absolutely. I don't care what anybody says. I know some designers are super precious about their compositions. I'm not. I'm not. I love to see things switched out and adapted. It makes me feel so happy when I see that you've changed something that I've done. And I usually think it's for the best, the better. But what I know is that it's the way that you like it. And that's what I want to know, is that you like it. So pretty. So pretty. So that's try to remember. Many of the things, all of the ribbon candy stuff, that's my own design, is in the body of the description of this video tonight if you want to shop. Along with the huge vintage Christmas designs that we've put out in the last 2 days. Lots of vintage patterns, brand new to the store. All that stuff is in the body of the text. Juliet, you like blow my mind. Before I forget, you are working on your Chesapeake Fantasy series, and these are for your boat, right? I'm going to read what you wrote. You're probably going to answer all my questions. I'm going to ask this question in case you don't answer this one. Some of your pieces look so large. Are you, like, I know a lot of the backing fabrics go up into the 60s. Are you piecing together your backing, or are you just using just a very long piece of it? I'm just wondering. Colleen, I too love it when folks make it. Of course you do, Colleen, because you're such a good person. Colleen's brand is Beach Nut Studio, right? Just like that. And Colleen also is such a like gregarious, happy, kind person. She's obviously one of the kinds of designers who would be thrilled that someone was having fun with the pattern. So you should always feel like you can. And if someone tells you otherwise, then there's lots of emojis for that, right? So Juliet, you have been working on this series of Chesapeake Fantasy rugs, and I know at least a couple of them are on your boat, and I think that is so fitting because these are real nautical. So I took a bunch over the course of the week too, because you made some progress. So you wrote, I made some good progress on Chesapeake Fantasy series number 3. I really like the lime green in it, and you know I do too, and I can see that little ball of the green there in the picture. You've got velvet in here from the Velvet Hook. That's Diane Collins in California, the Velvet Hook. Dyed wool from me, Ribbon Candy Hooking. Some sparkly stellina from Deanne Fitzpatrick in Canada. There's also, as a substitute, also Angelina, right? That's, I think, very like the stellina. That's just an alternate thing you could look for if you wanted to. It's another sparkler if you're in the U.S. Handspun fiber from a company called Flannel Cakes Fiber. I don't know them. I'm going to have to look them up. And lots of other assorted yarn from my stash. Your stash is formidable. Um, and you've got some really thin wool in there that you're hooking 4 strands at a time. Let me click to the next one because I snagged a bunch of images of yours for tonight. Lots of close-ups too. Because Juliet's using a lot of different material. And this is important for us to look at because you can see some wool strips here. You can see a lot of different fibers too. And you can see how you might need to double up or quadruple up like she is 4 strands at once. Some of these fibers that are really thin, but you know what? It's worth it. If you can handle the aggravation factor of doing it, it's really not that aggravating. It's quite fun. And when you are doubling or quadrupling, you know, it goes fast. And you look at your yarn and you think, gosh, this is so thin. It's never, how long is this going to take me? I'm going to be growing roots in the floor. Well, you know, when you double it, triple it, quadruple it, it does go really fast. And it's really gratifying and satisfying to see it fill in. And then you wrote later, here are a few in-process works from the final, maybe the final hook drug for the Chesapeake Fantasy. It depends on if you feel more in you. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw number 4. I'll tell you that because these are so successful. I'm just saying I'm definitely having fun exploring the Chesapeake Fantasy theme. And you're saying a combination of handspun wool, commercial yarn, all the different materials, sparkly. You've got wool roving in here, fabric strips, right? We can see that here. Oh, also glow-in-the-dark yarn. How fun is that? You can spin this yarn from a Halloween glow-in-the-dark spider web. You know, there are a lot that you can do if you crochet spider webs or whatever. That's glow-in-the-dark yarn. You can use it in your rugs too, of course. Absolutely brilliant. So let's look at your progress on some of these. Oops, I'm sorry. What did I do there? You got really far. I think you might have finished this one in the last week. You really see it filling in here, and it is a nautical theme, and you see like the different textures, the glow, the shininess, the flatness, right? All of this great contrast. I definitely see sock yarn in there, right? All that sort of seafoam color, very thin yarn. You would have to quadruple that up. There it is right there in the foreground now. So some of these things can be fiddly to work with, but if you are a seat of the pants person like Juliet, you're fine with this. You know what you need to do to make the thing work. Beautiful color scheme. So you're seeing like more roving material here, right? Just pulled, I think this is pulled through. Lots of different materials. This I don't know the Stellina. I only know the Angelina, but I'm guessing it's a real similar material, probably just a different brand. So this was more at the beginning, and I wanted to show this because you've got all your balls of yarn out. And it's nice, and this is what made me think, holy mackerel, this is a really large piece. Laura says, I love all the different textures. It's so exciting, isn't it? All that variety. Oh, Juliet says, you're using a 64-inch wide fabric. Okay, so it looks like you're probably right there with that size. It's okay to have to sew pieces together and to use them that way. You just have to be careful when you're hooking along the seam or punching up the seam, right? But that also works. It's just aggravation factor, right? That's all. And now this really is the mother load. This is like, it's so much goodness in one photo. And your sketch, it's so fun to see the way that you work. It's just like all hands on deck, isn't it? That was a nautical reference. Now, this isn't this piece though, right, Juliet? This must be a, wait a minute, because you can't have. You could have. You did. It is that piece. I'm just comparing it. This one, the photo is a little bit darker. This is the piece. Isn't that extraordinary? You finished it. So amazing. It looks amazing. Chesapeake Fantasy number 3. The Stellina is a bit thicker than sock thickness. Oh, so that is completely different and has a ribbon of glitz. I'm going to have to check that out, the Stellina. I never knew you could join piece. Yeah, you can. You can join the backing fabric together for sure to create a huge piece. But just be careful, when you're working through that seam, right? You don't want to punch out the stitches. I would work, if there's a seam with a little seam allowance, I would work through 2 layers just to be absolutely sure. But absolutely, you can work that way. It's all done. Amazing. Gail says, it's gorgeous. I spin my own homespun, but it takes so long to spin and hook. Oh, what a pleasure, though, right? It is a time thing for sure. Some are under daylight, some are under LED. Absolutely. They're all beautiful. They're all beautiful. Juliet, I'm going to say it. I'm kind of waiting for number 4. No pressure. It's just, I feel like it's in you. I don't know. I don't know. No pressure, but you are killing it with these Chesapeake Fantasy Series rugs. Colleen, you sent something amazing. You're working on 2 different things, so I took 2 different rugs from you. One of them I just hijacked off of the Facebook page. You said with this piece, you wrote me a little personal message and said you had changed your profile picture and realized that you didn't think that you ever shared your COVID anxiety abstract on the Facebook page, and I don't think that you did, because when I saw this, my heart stopped. So I don't think I've seen this before. I worked on this with no pattern starting in March of 2020 and finished it 3 months later. It's 24 by 36. It helped me work through the anxiety I was having at the time. So you say feel free to use this for gallery night. I love you too. I absolutely love this piece. This is a modernist masterpiece. Now, again, there are a lot of rugs in today's show that are seat of the pants rugs, right? I'm detecting a theme here. Are more of us working in a seat of the pants style, or does it just seem like that? Because this is exciting. I like all styles. I appreciate all of it. I love it all equally. I love I love that there are now, if this was 1955 or 1975 or even 1985, there wouldn't be a lot of examples out there for you of work where people were working in the flying by the seat of my pants style, right? It just was not the era of it. We were coming out of a very traditional era of rug making that was very heavy technical. And I feel like the more time goes on, the more we are crossing over into that gallery world of just artistic license, doing whatever you want, seat of the pants, super spontaneous, energy, right? And why shouldn't you work like that? There's absolutely no reason. It is completely the polar opposite of working from a very highly detailed pattern with all of the decisions made for you in advance. Technical people prefer that, and that's your comfort zone, and that's where you should be. But people who are not working in that style, I'm so happy to see so many of you finding opportunities and making, square peg, circle hole opportunities to work in a style that suits your personality. Because that's what it's all about, is capturing your personality in the pieces that you make. And this is another great example of that. This is absolutely stirring, striking, energizing. It's absolutely beautiful. And Colleen, I had another one of yours. This is one that you posted a little bit earlier in the month, I think, or the week before at least, working on some gifts. 2 bears are for 2 newborn great nephews. and the pretty kitties will be going as Christmas gifts to two lovely girls that you know. So again, you just work constantly with such a high caliber of work, such fun, such great pieces. These kids are going to absolutely love these pieces. April says she also appreciates all of the fly by the seat of your hook by the seat of your pants. You know, that is a great name for a book. April, are you going to write it? Hook by the seat of your pants. Oh my God. I mean, that's a great name for a book because then, you could be like literally ripping your pants off and, well, maybe the pair that you weren't wearing and hooking with. I love this. I love this. This is an exciting. I don't need another book idea, that's for sure. I've got to get going on the one I've already got going. Um, by the way, if you are interested, I know I've said this before and you sent an email. Just remind me if you can, because a long time has elapsed and I have gone crazy in between. In the interim, I've lost my mind. I think my mind is coming back. If you are interested in hooking a piece for me for the book I'm working on now, right, that will be published by Rug Cooking Magazine's press, um, it's going to be due like in the spring of next year, so there's still a few months in there. If you are interested in hooking a piece or punching a piece for me, some of them are quite small, let me know and just send me an email, again, if you don't mind, because time has elapsed and I have lost it. And now, again, I'm back and Jane is helping me put this project together, but I am working on designs and I am ready to send some stuff out. So I will look back on the email and I will find you if you've sent something. But if you're hearing this for the first time and you would like to send something, whether it is great or not, I want it for the book, right? If I'm going to do a bunch of designs and I can't hook them all myself, whether you think you're good enough or not, you are good enough. And I will take a beautiful finished piece. I will have you ship the piece and I'll send you a label if you do something like that for me. And I will photograph it in the most exquisite light. And even if you feel it is not a technically perfect piece, I don't care. I am happy with all kinds of work, all levels of work, all styles of work. It would be fine for me, and I would send it back to you too to keep for posterity. So let me know. Send me an email to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com if that's interesting for you. This was a piece I pulled off of our Facebook page by Liza Valerio. And I'm not sure if Liza tunes in, but Liza, if you are tuned in, I was so enthralled with this piece because this was a first rug hooking project. And Liza wrote, it's not great, but it's a start. And I'm going to argue back, right? I'm going to talk back and say, it is great. I love this piece. It has a nice simplicity to it. It is a sweet scene. It is a great vignette. It is a good size piece for a first rug. It is beautifully executed with a ton of directional hooking. The color choices are absolutely brilliant. I love the blue with blue. You might have a bit of Monet in you, right? Using the blue with a different blue. That is all Monet. Absolutely beautiful. You are also using Monet's colors, right? Because you go green, blue, purple. There's a little bit of that yellow, right across the color wheel, but most of it is an analogous color sweep. It's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Melanie says, me too. I don't have a pattern. I start to sweat and chew my nails. Isn't it great to relate to each other and to say, I work in this style too. And, I never want to talk trash about technical work. It's just that I don't do it, right? I'm not that good at technical stuff. And for that reason, it's hard for me to relate to it. I'm always baffled and amazed by it. And I can't articulate, enough or the right praise for it because it's like alchemy, magic to me. Carol, holy mackerel, this is a gorgeous piece. You wrote, my dear friend is moving to Arizona and the nearby Deer Valley Petroglyph Preserve. So this is like a park. She loves the kissing reindeer petroglyph from that park. So as a going away and housewarming gift, I just finished this for her. Size 1 foot by 2 foot, wool, sari, that's SARI ribbon, and a llama yarn mix on linen. This is an extraordinary piece. Just an extraordinary. I mean, this is so perfect as a gift. The idea that you thought of this and you realized it in this way with these colors. I want to show you the photograph also that Carol posted because it was like crazy, right? So this is like the kissing reindeer. I mean, such a beautiful idea, such a beautiful gift. I know I'm running over at this moment. That's not good, is it? Um, I might swap out some for tomorrow morning. I might do that. But Carol, I just love this piece. once in a blue moon, we see work that is based on cave paintings or ancient art, truly ancient art. This is one of those times, isn't it? And when you see it, it has this quality to it that is so different than everything else we see because your eye says, I know this is based on something extremely old, and it has that magical quality. And to see it in these nice earthy colors, right? It's the right colors. You've done a lot of reversal of color here, and that is brilliant. So if you look at the bodies and the antlers of the reindeer, I was wondering if antlers is the right word. I think it is for reindeer. But you can see how there's some color flipping, right? Their bodies are like little ribbons, right? They're small little bodies, but you have done some color changing that is very smart because it gives shape, contour, definition, movement, and interest just with two colors to two very simple shapes. Two very simple shapes like this could easily get lost, and all of the shapes around could easily get lost in a composition like this, but they don't. And that is just great planning. In this case, great contrast. We've got the sort of green family versus the orange family, right? Thanksgiving football game, orange versus green. It's going to be complementary colors. With this kind of a composition that is so simple with some very filigree lines, you really need to have good contrast. You really need to know that it is going to stand out. Absolutely beautiful, Carol. And let me see. Okay, that's the Becky. This was the image that I used for the thumbnail. This is an extraordinary piece. Becky, thank you so much for letting me use this too. Sybil Square by Salma Danji, and that's Dhanji. 34 by 34. This is a pattern that Cushing has, W. Cushing and Company in Maine. You just put it up on the wall. Gave the rug that was there before to my mom. Pass it on because you have to make more space. When this popped up on the Facebook group, I think everybody literally like just fell over because it was, I mean, it's just such a lush piece. It does have like an Eastern feel to it because of all the layers of flowers, right? It has a wild feel to it. It has a very flat feel to it. That is absolutely the heart of the charm of this piece, right? It's like we've got some central flowers that have a bit of a lotus feel to the leaves, and then radiating out of there this pastel garden that's like an English wildflower garden. It is completely out of control. It goes from being a very rich, warm kind of Persian palette to a very Art Deco 1920s palette. Very bright candy colors, pastel colors. It is just extraordinary. Melanie says, really looks like the center is popping out of the rug. Veronica says, I love this one. It is absolutely beautiful. I love how this rug goes right out to the corners, right? You do see that there's a border. You do see there's a black background. There kind of needs to be with something that has this much color. Again, a great example. You can use this much color, right? Just be thoughtful about the way that you're doing it. And make sure that your background is either really dark or really light, and be careful about your color choices. But this is going to read as a field of flowers, and it reads as a pattern, right? Not as a literal field of flowers, because it's way busier than that. It's got way more energy, life, color. It is it is, yes, Mom, exactly a riot of flowers. And I love that it's a square piece. Becky, it's an extraordinary piece. I absolutely love it. Now, because I'm running late, I know Jane is not watching because she is in Wales and she better be sleeping. If she's not sleeping, she's going to be in trouble. I'm going to save Boris for tomorrow morning. Remember, she was working on her schnauzer for her neighbor. She has finished that. So I'm going to start the episode with that tomorrow because she will be live with us tomorrow and we can look at it together with her. And she better be sleeping, right? She's often awake in the middle of the night. Make sure, if you are enjoying tonight's show, that you like and subscribe. Thank you for the reminder. Love to have those likes and subscribes. Press that button because then you'll know when we run another show. Sometimes if I'm not feeling well or something happens with the technology gods, I change your show and I contact you because you've subscribed. Otherwise, I can't get to you, right? So please like and subscribe and comment and all of the things you do to make sure that this channel is seen and shared so everybody can jump in at every level of expertise and become a player or at least enjoy, right? Debbie, you sent an amazing email to me. I'm going to read the email because I need help with this one from all of you. So Debbie wrote and said, hi, Deanna. Paraphrasing, we did have a very nice Thanksgiving. You're wondering if I could offer some advice. You said, when my cousin moved my aunt out of her house and into a retirement facility last year, she asked me if I wanted a vintage hooked rug that my aunt had hanging on her wall. In my excitement, I did not get specific details, such as exactly how big it was or its condition, and I just said yes. So now she has gone through the expense of mailing this ginormous rug to me from Michigan, and I am despondent. Not only do I not have a place to hang something this size, it is also in really rough shape in terms of discoloration and wear. It was clearly a beautiful rug at one time, but now it looks rather dark and dingy. I guess cleaning it could be an option. However, it has been sewn onto a wooden frame, so I imagine that it makes my options limited. You can see that it is mounted in this photo. I was wondering what you might suggest. I also was wondering if you have any feedback regarding this pattern. Does it look familiar to you? Could it be a commercial pattern? My aunt doesn't have any information about the history. The fabric used in hooking seems very rugged and stiff, so I'm wondering if old clothing was used. It just doesn't seem like a commercially bought rug hooking fabric, so I'm thinking perhaps it's fairly old. I'm sure it has been well used and there's evidence of repairs. And Debbie saying any feedback that we could collectively offer would be super handy. So I get what you're saying all around here. I'm going to say, in terms of being a commercial pattern, it's really hard to say. I don't think that it is. And if it is, I would go straight to Garrett Blue Nose and look for something that doesn't look like this but has that building in it. But I don't think you're going to find it. It is in terms of composition, it's not the greatest composition, but the charm of it is it appears like, could it be a lighthouse? Do you see like the rays coming out of the cupola on top there? It is a tremendous piece of folk art. So what I'm going to say about it is, it is old. I don't think it's a commercial composition. It could be sort of a mutation of something that was bought that had a lot more detail, and it was kind of watered down because the maker was not like, you know, ambitious enough to want to articulate the whole thing. But the composition, for me, the way that it stands, is a little bit bare. And again, if there is a chance, I would believe it to be a Blue Nose, a Garrett Blue Nose. I wouldn't even think about any other company at this time putting out a pattern that had any of these motifs. But I think it's an original pattern, and I think it's an existing place. I don't know if it's still there, and that gives it a lot of charm. But what gives it the most charm is because you can see the struggle, right? I think so, Bob. I think so. Those rays must be there for a reason, right? Um, and that brings up the other question: where is it? Does anybody recognize this building? Because it certainly could be at the edge of some kind of a cliff. These don't look like trees that you would find on the edge of water, but who knows, right? I'm wondering if any of that in the foreground is meant to be water. I don't think so, because there's a path, right? So it must be ground. This piece is full of mystery. I think it's an extraordinary piece. I think the color choices are extraordinary. We have got a lot happening with green, and that means that they were running out of green. I think it probably is thick. There was probably all kinds of clothing being used here. You can see even up in the sky, they ran out of both blue and white and vanilla and ivory and every shade of pale, and they went to like a pink coral that's the same color as the door. These are the things that make pieces valuable, because you can feel the struggle of that person going, I don't want pink in the sky, but what can I do, right? I need one more piece. So these are the things that make hooked rugs valuable and charming. I'm sure that it is dingy, but it is mounted. So the most traditional way to clean a rug really is with snow in this season. If you live somewhere where there's snow, you could rub a little snow on. I don't know that I would do that. For myself, Debbie, I'd really want to see more close-ups of this. I'm guessing the dinginess is on the most pale parts of the rug. Um, I'm looking for feedback too. Judy Taylor, right? My buddy Judy Taylor is the expert on repairing rugs and cleaning rugs. She has a book out on the subject, Judy Taylor. Her company is called Little House Rugs. She also has a Facebook group on cleaning and restoring rugs. I am not an expert on this at all. I don't know the condition completely. I'm thinking that the parts that are probably the most offensive in terms of being dirty are the light parts. And for me, if I was repairing it myself, if it was my piece, I would be thinking about if they were truly dirty, just taking a few pieces out here and there and rehooking. But for me, that would completely depend on the integrity of the backing, and it's going to be burlap. So it's a little bit tough. I would love some closer up pictures. Debbie says, I think some of the odd color placements might be repairs. That's also interesting because that's part of the life and the story of this rug. So if later people did make different choices with colors, that's also exciting. It becomes like a palimpsest. It becomes a work in progress, the work of many hands. The mystery continues. This piece has a ton of charm, but I personally don't know enough or can't see well enough to give really good advice. I would say, unless we get some in the next 5 minutes that I'm going to be live, some brilliant, quick ideas in the margin. Debbie, can you send me some more pictures of it closer up? Is the back sealed or can you see the loops on the back? I'm just wondering because I have played the game when I felt like there was enough integrity in the piece. I have played the game when I've pulled a piece out and rehooked it like upside down or something like that if the color on the back is a little bit better, because I just sometimes feel like if I have a Christmas piece that's old and the snow is like, it's like a big dirty bird snowstorm all over the ground. I did pull some pieces out of that and rehook it with the same piece but upside down, and just here and there it popped enough of the snow to make it not look like so filthy, right? So that's something, that I can't say that that's a smart thing to do because the backing might not be able to maintain. But stop it, Bob. Isle La Mota Lighthouse. Do you think that's what this is? That would be an incredible mystery solved. That would be incredible. Let's Google that and figure it out, right? That sounds like an amazing lead. Debbie, I love this piece and I want to talk more about this piece. The back is covered. Okay, so that's a bummer. That's a bummer because that's where all of the answers are for me, is in the back of it. Looking at the back of it, the color changes, all that stuff. Um, that's a bummer. Yeah, let's come back to this. I don't have an absolute finite answer, but it is exciting. Did you find it too?
The White House. I don't know if that's.
Holy mackerel. Okay, so Bob, you might be right. Jay just pulled up this lighthouse. Let me come back to you here. Wow, I see some real similarities. Right, so this is the one Bob was just talking about. That has some, I mean, real similarities. That bears a huge resemblance. This would be a different view. If this is from the ground, it's a different view. But that would explain why there's a lighthouse. Exciting, isn't it? That would explain why there's a lighthouse. Well, there's beams coming out of it because the lighthouse is behind. So this would be looking at it from the other side. And then isn't it supposed to be water from that side? Interesting. This is all interesting. I love these kinds of mysteries. Super interesting. I'm going to move on just because I'm late. I'm so sorry about that. Debbie, let's return to this. And if you are still in the thread and you're thinking, Melanie says, Juliet, I see a little ghostly figure too. Oh, right in front of the lighthouse, to the right of the lighthouse, a little ghostly figure. That little, there's like a little cutaway from the shape of the house, isn't there? It could be the silhouette of the house, or it could be the ghostly light keeper of the house. Now there is a mid-century girls mystery book for you, right? The mystery of what was it called? Isle Lamont or Isla Lamate, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Um, interesting girl cover. I love this piece. I love this conversation. Let's return to this, Debbie. The pink, Colleen says the pink is very specific. I think you're right. Bob, that was fantastic. How did you know that? That was amazing. I love to know the size of things. If you have time, Debbie, can you give us a rough idea of what the size of it was or is? I'm just looking at my notes because I don't think I have that. I don't think I have that. If you have an idea, it does look large, and certainly larger than you thought, right? So I'm going to move on just because we're a little bit late. Sorry about that. This happens to me, doesn't it? I wanted to show this beautiful rug that Nancy Klunder sent in. This is for our Van Gogh challenge. This is the Van Gogh chair. This will go into the exhibit in Hartford when I go speak in January, right? And we have the Van Gogh exhibit there. Absolutely feel free to contact me or to pull up this free pattern from Ribbon Candy Hooking and do the rug in any way that you want. It is the Van Gogh chair. It's just an idea. Lots of lighthouse videos. That's amazing. Bob, that's amazing. What a lot of fun. So Nancy Klunder did this piece. This will go into the Van Gogh exhibit. Look at all this great directional hooking on the ground. It looks like terracotta tiles, right? I think Van Gogh did have terracotta tiles in his little studio where he worked, where this chair was, the sunflowers on the chair. I mean, very Van Gogh-esque in color as well. But Nancy, one of the things that I loved the most about your piece is the tag that you put on it. And it is a quote from Vincent himself that says, "As long as autumn lasts, I shall not have hands, canvas, and colors enough to paint the beautiful things I see." You know, he said so many beautiful things, didn't he? It's just, it's, we always associate him with mental illness and depression, and it's just not fair because he had so many beautiful pieces. This is another of the Van Gogh pieces that my buddy Ann did. This is called Van Gogh Under the Sea. I pulled this off of our Facebook page. She did a mermaid in it. We saw this in the stages of progress, and now we're seeing it finished. And you did a smashing job with this. I'm looking forward to seeing all of these Van Gogh pieces in the Hartford exhibit. And if you are curious, send me an email and I can send you all of the information. Laura, it did with the lighthouse. It was like the beams were coming out of the top. That's why I think the lighthouse was on the other side of the building. It was a weird um, sort of orientation. Ryan, you are so much fun. I know you posted this right around Halloween. You are so much fun doing your elephant with your safari gear on. I mean, does it get any cuter than this? I absolutely am in love. This is adorable. I love this. You are working on another insanely large piece, 36 by 36 elephant, right? You are punching. You've got it on one of your frames. Ryan does epic, large, huge pieces of work. I love it, right, Colleen? It's so funny. And here you are a little bit further along. And I loved how you were posting in the Facebook group, like, you know, what do you think about background? I love seeing the posts in there where we're sort of conferring and brainstorming and snowballing and all of that stuff. It's just absolutely stunning. And further along yet. I mean, it's an extraordinary piece, isn't it? And you ended up going with this very soft blue in the background. I think it's absolutely the right color. You've got lots of warm colors in it. You've got a lot of the gray neutral, and now you've got this beautiful, cool blue. It's really, really brilliant. Bob likes it too. Ryan, this is a stellar piece. And then I snuck this piece that you're just starting. You were working on this drawing, and you posted in the group and said, "What color do you think for the background?" And somebody said like a what was it, like a sagey green? And then you popped that color in and it really looked good. So this is a bit of a teaser. It's a to be continued. This is nothing like what I'm used to seeing you working on. So I thought this was absolutely extraordinary. You know what? I'm getting nervous because it's 9:08 and I have a ton more slides to get through. My mouth ran too much as usual, even though I'm not feeling well and I'm not doing much of anything except running my mouth. I don't want to rush the next slides. So I'm going to do for tomorrow. Let's continue cocktail time, right? Let's do tomorrow morning coffee time. I'm continuing because I have work by so many buddies, and I'm sorry about that. I got late. Let's see. I have obviously Jane's Boris. I have yep. Oh, I have Mandy. I have Shannon. I have. Let me just look back at the slideshow. Becky, I pulled something of Becky's. I've got a bunch more pieces. So, yeah, I'm going to start tomorrow's episode. I'll probably transition partway through the episode to different content. I'm just worried about going late. What do you think? Yeah, I just don't want to, because let me see how many more slides I have. I know it's like I'm wasting time right now even saying this. Yeah, I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got like 8 more slides. I don't want to rush. Everybody's work is like too special and too good. So let me finish the last slides tomorrow for coffee time. We'll do that tomorrow morning at noon Eastern Standard Time. Hey, if you're watching and you have time to send me what you're working on, I can put it in. I'll get it in tomorrow morning. That's going to work. So I'm going to start tomorrow morning's episode by concluding cocktail time from tonight. And we're going to look at the rest of the stellar work that we started looking at here. I'm sorry I always put a lot of slides in because I don't want to leave anybody's out. So let's look at those when we have time in the morning. So that'll start off tomorrow. I will be with you this week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I will see you again. Please like, subscribe, all of those great things. I will see you tomorrow morning where we conclude this episode of Gallery Night and we finish off looking at the work of our buddies. All stellar work. at noon Eastern Standard Time. Have a great night. I will see you in the